The agriculture food system is so enormous. Like, we all participate in it.
Because food is such a fundamental need, if you are relying on one particular system for your food, if that system encounters difficulties, then we'll all be experiencing food insecurity.
People don't care as much as they should, and I want to make people care. We've always been a little bit, foodies, I guess is the word. I've always enjoyed eating good quality food.
We've been at our current location for 8 years, but it's only truly became a farm about 3 years ago.
When our eldest daughter was diagnosed with allergies, we paid more attention to what we eat because there's a lot of question marks out there as to what causes some of these things and what doesn't. And one thing led to another. We started keeping our own birds. We started growing our own food, fresh herbs and tomatoes and things like that. In a former life, I was a photographer and I was shooting weddings, and I was kind of losing connection with my clientele. I wasn't really into it anymore. I wasn't happy on the path I was on. I was stuck in this one method of income, and I wanted to do something different. I think so.
Michael decided to close his business and then to become a full-time farmer.
Then we have a farm. We kind of just expanded what we already do for ourselves and bring that same passion to farming so we can provide for other people.
Hey, asparagus, look.
Yeah, first one.
First asparagus.
No, we're not eating that.
You're not supposed to eat it for 2 years.
They're a labor of time and love.
Get one here.
My grandfather, he had a dairy farm in Wisconsin. My wife's from Quebec. My uncle was a chef. Having traveled a lot too and seeing how other people eat, France in particular, I mean, they really take their food seriously, and I felt the same way.
No, I'm making dressing.
Boo!
Because what are we having for lunch?
Salad.
You'll survive.
Food security, in the basic sense, is the ability to feed yourself and your family and your community. The world we live in now, we have this incredible global system of food production and transport. I think a lot of us take it for granted because it's so accessible to us.
This pandemic has been a really interesting time to be observing our food system. We started experiencing shortages and people became aware that there is a bit of instability in our system.
When the restaurants shut down, suddenly the demand bottoms out. So now there's a whole bunch of growers who don't have anywhere to sell their goods.
The meatpacking plants that had outbreaks of COVID.
When you are relying entirely on food production from other places, you're at the mercy of shifts in the supply chain.
So when we're able to bring our food system down to a more local level, we have a lot more control over it. Part of food security as well is what do you do with that food? So it's a knowledge base. What do you know about cooking with that food or processing that food in order to make it edible and enjoyable? And how do you integrate that into your life? And I think that's something that's been dwindling in a lot of senses as our lives get busier and we rely more on convenience foods. The transfer of knowledge from generation to generation around food starts to dwindle as well.
Look how perfect this one is.
Oh yeah, I like them even a little bit darker.
I don't want them to be that kid that doesn't know where their food comes from. That just stupefies me that people aren't more curious about their food.
This is last year's garlic.
Really?
Hmm?
Really?
Yeah? Where do you think it came from? The store? I didn't grow all that pile of garlic for having to buy any. That's something that we both really wanted them to do. I mean, for them to be able to be critical about their food, right?
I think it's really important to give our children a sense of community, and they are members of community, and they're aware of the choices they make. And one of those important choices is the food they eat. Food is something that you need to care about because the choices you make are going to impact the whole system. And if everybody makes good choices, the system gets better.
Yeah, I'm getting your ingredients. Okay, and then a little bit of sugar. Thank you. Can you do
Sugar?
Yeah, there's sugar that goes in there.
Sugar dressing? I've never heard of that.
Well, there's vinegar, right?
Actually, yeah. Imagine what it would taste like without any sugar.
Yeah.
Hey, we should experiment.
More than anything. Hey. You gonna give him, but it looks like he's having seizure or something. Okay, let it rest for a second.
Let me see.
She's creating volcanoes.
Oh, this is a cool Italian one. Quadrato di Asti Rosso.
Mama, how'd you get that out?
I'm gonna come and help you.
There's a lot to learn.
Okay, so when you make a hole, just put the dirt nicely here.
Coming up with a business plan is hard. Thinking in terms of, for this 100 feet of soil here, what can I grow and how many pounds am I going to get out of it? I just kind of want to go and put whatever. So should I go with the smaller one or a bigger one that's not as happy? Probably smaller one, huh? I use too much love, I think, sometimes, and not as much sense. And that's kind of the challenge, but that's where my wife comes in. It's kind of nice to have a little dose of reality from time to time.
I think there's too many seedlings.
And we start with the most, interesting one.
Okay. I grew up by the St. Lawrence River, so that's an area where there's lots of farm and lots of growing land, and it's super easy to grow. You basically want to make a garden, you just remove some of your grass and you make a garden. I thought it was easy, right? But we quickly realized as we started to grow here that the soil isn't the same. It takes a lot more time to make good soil. The amount of time we have without frost is also a lot shorter. So it just took some adjustment. It wasn't as simple as just making a garden.
We got our solid things that we rely on and that we can do quality and we could do efficiently. Eggs is one of them. Meat birds, those are ducks and chickens, and raspberries. There are other things too we're experimenting with to try do more of for the farmers market, and that includes tomatoes. I haven't quite gotten that dialed down to the way I'd like to. I grow little pumpkins and squash that do nicely, but for the amount of real estate it takes up, the amount of nutrients required, there's not much there. Also, we're experimenting with ginger, radishes and some winter crops that you grow. You sow them in the fall and then they overwinter nicely in the greenhouse and you harvest them as you need. But we're gonna play around with that. Those are the experimental areas.
Turmeric, I'm super excited about. It's gonna be just for us probably, but I think that's crazy that we can grow that.
That knowledge about how to grow things and what can grow and being able to experiment is really invaluable to any local food system. There are definitely things that we won't be able to grow in any substantial way in this area, but there are food products that will thrive, and it takes time to learn that, and it takes people doing the work of learning to do that. And that knowledge can be really invaluable to future farmers that are coming down the line.
You grow what you can in your environment, right? I'm obsessed with trying to grow melons here. I'm never going to grow a really great melon consistently, but every couple of years I get a couple of them, then it's all worth it. But that's just for me, right? Hi, we're at the Kimberley Farmers Market. It's the first one of the season. I don't really know what to expect. Just with the whole COVID thing, there are half the vendors here, it seems like. We're all spaced out. You know, I feel like a lot of people want to get out and be around other folks. So it could be just overwhelming, but you know, maybe not. I'm always surprised. I haven't figured this out yet, so I'm still learning.
The main reason why we decided with Farmers Market is it's locally accessible. You can market your product yourself, you talk directly to the customer, so for that it's really nice. Yeah, I like the interaction.
Farmers markets are also important for the community. It's a place where they can learn about the food they're buying. They can have conversations with people who grow it. They can taste what really fresh food tastes like, but also the effort that goes into it. Getting to know, the long hours that farmers have to put in to produce what they produce, and it creates just an appreciation for food.
I'm just gonna wait till the market.
I was telling Mario, I have two on our way here. I really miss like my grandfather's farm. I'm definitely nostalgic. Oh man, I just remember it. Going back, the smell's there. Acres of raspberries, long rows of them. The earth was just gorgeous. Can you define what art is? I don't know what art is, but the best definition I've heard came from a jazz musician. And he said art is something that takes you to a place. And I wasn't getting that out of my photography. I feel like I'm going somewhere when I'm in my orchard. Like it takes me back. It's so powerful, it's so emotional. There's a certain connection I feel to going back to a craft that we've practiced for that's like 12,500 years now, 13,000 years we've been farming. Like I feel more connected to my ancestors and not just my grandfather. That's kind of what made us choose to do this. I'm sure I could have chosen something a little more lucrative, but this is what works the best.
We are making some tomato sauce. So I'm basically just coring the tomato pretty roughly, and then they'll go in a machine basically that will remove the skin and the seed and spits out a tomato sauce that then we'll reduce and then we'll can it. So that's kind of like the basic tomato sauce that we'll use through the winter. When the COVID crisis started, it was initially just kind of reassuring to know that, we had access to growing and producing food. That felt really, really good. It was almost a bit comical initially because it was, super early in the spring and some people were phoning like, what do you have available? And we're like, well, you don't grow tomatoes in the middle of April. Like they're wee little, seedlings. I guess for us it's normal and we understand the cycle, but it just made me aware that we just need to educate people, right?
Food is community. Food is family. Food is tradition. Food is enjoyment. Food is sustenance. Food is unavoidable. You have to eat. No matter what you do, food is part of your life, and you have to figure out how to develop a relationship with it. Finding ways to encourage enthusiasm around food. And I would say particularly foods that we're able to grow here, raise here, access here in this region, and being able to create enjoyment and traditions around that food is going to be incredibly crucial as we move forward.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of ways that any given person can get involved in improving our local food economies and food security. If you have any interest at all in growing things, just get out and grow it. Tear up a little bit of your lawn and throw some soil in there and see what you can grow. If you don't have the ability to grow things in your own space, there's community gardens that you can get involved in. Go in there, experiment, learn some things. If you don't want to grow at all, definitely go to your farmers markets. Buy as much as you can from farmers markets. In your grocery stores, look for things that are local. A lot of even chain grocery stores are looking to increase the amount of local food.
I think that the kids overall are they're interested, but for them it's just normal. They harvested potatoes since they were wee little.
The change that I'm going to try to make in this world is going to be with my little community, and that starts here at this home. Oh yeah, they're going to learn about this, and they're going to learn animal husbandry. They're going to learn how to grow. It's in their blood. It's in my blood, and it's just something I want to give to them. I want to show them how to do it.
Imagine what it would taste like without any sugar.
Yeah.
Mama, 1?
2 of those.
Okay. I'll put 2 huge ones.
No.
Yes, I'm experimenting.
Mm-hmm.